JBNN will keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with family and friends today. Now on to the news. Light earthquake felt in western Jamaica. A light earthquake with a magnitude of 4.0 was felt in sections of Jamaica on Tuesday. Preliminary reports from the earthquake unit at the University of the West Indies, Mona, said the quake's epicenter was approximately 22 kilometers southwest of Savlamar, Westmoreland. It was reportedly felt at 12:30 p.m. across sections of Savlamar and the Santa Cruz in St. Elizabeth. Clarendon funeral home operator killed during fight with brother-in-law. A funeral home operator was shot dead in Palmer's Cross, Clarendon, on Tuesday during a dispute with another man, the police report. The deceased has been identified as 42-year-old Sherwin Williams, also known as Baba, of a Newtown address in Hayes in the parish. Williams was the owner of Rising Footprints Funeral Home. The Hayes police say about 10:45 a.m., Williams and his brother-in-law, who is a licensed farm holder, got into an argument, which became physical. It is reported that during the fight, the brother-in-law's gun went off accidentally, hitting Williams in the upper body. Williams was taken to hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Tributes have been pouring in on social media, with many people describing Williams as a kind-hearted, soft-spoken and humble individual who was undeserving of such a tragic demise. Indicom probing fatal police shooting in Central Village. The Independent Commission of Investigations, Indicom, is reporting that it is probing the fatal shooting of a man by the police in an alleged shootout along Browns Lane in Central Village, St. Catherine today. The deceased is yet to be identified. Indicom stated that the police informed that a team went in pursuit of a man who was reportedly seen running and carrying a large object along Browns Lane. During the pursuit, the man is alleged to have brandished a gun and fired at the police. The cops reported that they fired in response. After the gunfire subsided, the man was found suffering from gunshot wounds, and the two guns were reportedly seen in his vicinity. Indicom said the two recovered guns were a Springfield 9mm pistol and an M16 rifle, which was wrapped in transparent plastic. Indicom is seeking the public's assistance in identifying the deceased man. He was wearing a black t-shirt marked Hollister, blue jeans shorts with a black belt, and blue underpants. He is of slim build and a dark complexion. Anyone with information to assist with the identification is asked to contact Indicom's landline at 876-968-8875, Indicom's WhatsApp number at 876-553-0000, or the Portmore Police Station. Indicom said the incident scene was examined, processed, and evidential material recovered and packaged. The hands of the deceased were swabbed for DNA testing, and his body was photographed and sealed, pending post-mortem examinations. Initial accounts of the incident were provided by the concerned officers. The officers further reported that no body-worn cameras were issued or worn during the incident. Cops find submachine gun in trunk of scrapped car. A submachine gun was found in the trunk of a scrapped vehicle on Tuareg Crescent in Rosetown, Kingston 13, on Tuesday afternoon. The high-powered weapon was seized following a snap raid by the Kingston Western Police's Proactive Investigation Unit. No arrests were made in connection with the find. The police said the raid was part of the National Initiative Assault on Gangs and the result of continued investigations into the Rosetown Bentley Lane gangs in the division. Reports received indicate that between 2 and 3 p.m., the police carried out the snap operations. During the raid, the police found a Smith & Wesson submachine gun in the trunk of a scrapped motor car. A magazine was affixed to the weapon and contained 1.22mm cartridge. The gun was seized. Meanwhile, the St. Andrew South Police on Tuesday night seized the Mach 11 submachine gun along with several rounds of ammunition from a crashed vehicle. It is reported that at about 9:30 p.m., a police point was on patrol in Olympic Gardens when the driver of a Toyota Axie motor car lost control of the vehicle, which crashed into a wall along Bay Farm Road and Tangerine Road. The three occupants reportedly fled from the vehicle. During a search of the vehicle, the weapon with a magazine containing 12 rounds of 9mm cartridges was reportedly discovered. The police are searching for the men. Two Manchester JPs decommissioned. A former high school teacher and a businessman have been decommissioned as Justices of the Peace, JPs in Manchester, after being accused of charging fees for the voluntary service. Custos of Manchester Garfield Green said the two men were brought before an ethics committee in recent weeks following 2 years of accusations against them.
We take an oath to serve and to provide community members at no cost. We received 2 damning reports since year. We have received reports on the same persons over the past 2 years, but it has increased this year. So we have decided to see how best we can get the evidence, which we did, and those 2 JPs were brought before the ethics committee at my office. We have an ethics committee that investigates every single report about the justice of the peace. No matter how simple it is or how serious it is, they are referred to the ethics committee, and then they would make their recommendations to me as a custos. So these 2 justice of the peace, and I would say young, they are young in terms of age, young in terms of their service. It is very unfortunate that they were caught charging for services, because reports were received against them before, and they were warned, because we never had hard evidence, so we couldn't take action against them. But they were warned, right? But they have allowed themselves to be caught, and the decision was taken to have them removed from office. I would use this opportunity to warn all justice of the peace to be careful. Do not charge for JP services. It's against the JP Act. It's not a criminal offense. It is not. But you can be removed from office instantaneously, right, once you're caught charging for providing the services. I want to encourage all justice of the peace to uphold the integrity of the office, to abide by the Act, the JP Act, and people need service of the justice of the peace. They do need services. So whenever you can help someone, please help. Don't turn persons away to say, boy, you don't have the time to sign yet, or it's a free service, so they must come back some other time. No, you knew exactly what you were getting into. So please live up to your responsibility and do it. And when you give persons recommendations that you don't know what they're going to do with it, right? I've had a JP who signed for 2 persons applying for driver's license. He didn't know them. It came to me from the tax office, right? He didn't know them. And then you don't know who these persons are. They could be criminal elements. They could be using the recommendations to create some false identity. So I'm asking all justice of the peace to be very careful. And remember, if you're in doubt, don't sign. No one is forcing you to sign. But you have an obligation to serve members of the community. So please do so. And whenever in doubt, ask questions, ask advice. And if you can't do it for someone because you don't know them, help them. Explain to them why you can't.
St. Ann Police Commander bullish on crime control in the parish in light of the fact that there's been a 35% reduction in crime in the parish of St. Ann since the start of the year. The police chief for the parish has declared that the situation is under control. Senior Superintendent of Police Dwight Powell, commanding officer for the St. Ann Police Division, addressing a back-to-school function recently in St. Ann's Bay, revealed that there have been 35 murders in the parish so far this year, down from 54 for the corresponding period last year.
We have recorded some 35 murders when compared to 54 for the corresponding period last year. So we are seeing a decrease of 19. So we have been working assiduously. We have looked and we have seen where the challenge is coming from. And so the challenge we saw with the parish of St. Ann over a period of time relates to domestic conflict situations. We are putting in place our safe school officers. We are also looking at maintaining some relationship with the primary schools. We will be sending periodically police to ensure that their presence in the school are maintained. And so as we train our safe school officers, we'll be looking at our town centers to see how best we can ensure that we have no littering of the schools.
On the other hand, SSP poll reported that there's been an alarming rise in the number of road fatalities in St. Ann since the start of the year.
We are seeing 26 fatal collisions resulting in some 33 persons losing their lives. In that number, we are seeing 6 motorcyclists losing their lives in fatal collisions. What we have discovered is that these motorcyclists, most of the time, they are riding without the requisite protective gears, including their helmets. So when we look at last year, where we were at this time, we were 19 fatal collisions, resulting in 22 deaths.
Few Jamaicans participating in Canada Farm Work Program. The Ministry of Labour is supporting few Jamaicans even the country to participate in the Seasonal Farm Workers Program. This comes even as the Canadian government announced that it is reducing by tens of thousands the number of temporary foreign workers. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Colette Roberts-Risden, said that the decline has been recorded between 2022 and this year. She said the reduction is due in part to several areas of the program which needs improvement.
We need to improve on the worker attitude, the quality of our workers going to Canada. And we also have to recognize that Jamaica is one of many countries vying for those jobs in Canada. And the Canadian farmer does have choices in terms of where they recruit workers from. So while we recognize that Jamaican workers perform maybe 2 or 3 times what one worker from another country will do, Jamaica is not the only supply country, and we have to work to improve the quality of our workers, secure more jobs, and to get those numbers up to where they were in 2022.
Almost 9,000 Jamaican farm workers are part of the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program in Canada. JUTC gets 100 new CNG buses to boost fleet. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz is touting a much improved Jamaica Urban Transit Company with the addition of 100 compressed natural gas CNG buses to the fleet. Vaz says the new buses will result in reduced wait time, more productivity, safer commute, and improved service and comfort.
That's what he was saying in a diplomatic way. Most Honorable Prime Minister, ministers, MP colleagues, and all of those persons that are... See, Mike, he says yes. Welcome to this momentous occasion. It is absolutely a great pleasure to stand here and address you as the Minister responsible for transportation. And it's a good break from being the Minister of Energy. 15 years ago, in 2009, the JUTC was expanded by 200 buses financed by a consortium of banks out of Europe. There was no fiscal space to even hope to purchase these buses without a loan, and any idea for an investment of this nature would have been seen as a pipe dream. Could not be accomplished. It was seen as mission impossible. I must thank my permanent secretary, Mrs. Carol Palmer, the MSED team, the Ministry of Finance led by Minister Clark and the Financial Secretary, the JUTC Board and Management, the Public Investment Appraisal Branch and the Public Investment Management Committee, along with Golden Dragon and Vaughn's Motors, for making what has taken place possible in record time. Today, Prime Minister, thanks to the economic policies of your government and the fiscal discipline of our Finance Minister, Jamaica has found a way to make impossible possible. I stand here proud as a Transport Minister to state that we have purchased 100 new CNG buses for the improvement of public transportation for the first time in modern Jamaica, and we have done so without any external financing or any needs for loans. Since 2023, 170 buses have been purchased at a cost of 5 billion Jamaican dollars. No loans, no borrowing, no begging. The pipe dream has been met by the Andrew Holness-led government, Dream Team, and the only result is prosperity and productivity for all Jamaicans. And we didn't stop at buses. We made sure, as Minister Clark said earlier, that with the buses, we secured a warranty from the dealer, along with a service contract, and most importantly, parts to come with the buses so that we can keep the buses running. That is what you call proper planning. So we are assuring that the buses we have today will be reliable and maintained for tomorrow. Jamaica, we have found a new way. Former US President John F. Kennedy once stated that a rising tide lifts all boats. And with the tsunami of a finance minister that we have been blessed to have, the transport portfolio, like many others, is a lifted boat today. Ladies and gentlemen, 100 CNG buses that we are adding to the fleet is the tip of the iceberg. And I'm going to come to that a little bit later. Every bus you see here today means more jobs, less waiting time, more productivity, safer commute, and improved service and comfort. This is not trickle-down economics. Prime Minister, with the commissioner of these 100 buses, we have already expanded the Montego Bay Metro fleet from 6 to 18 buses. This is an increase of 200%, not a trickle. These buses will serve the parishes of Hanover, Westmoreland, Trelawney, and St. James, and Montego Bay Metro currently transports daily, between 47 and 55,000 commuters. With this improvement, Montego Bay Metro will now serve 80 to 100,000 commuters per day. Almost a 100% increase. As a matter of fact, 113%. This will also see the expansion of the Metro service from the existing 5 school routes to 9 school routes. With the additional buses provided to Montego Bay Metro, the added routes will be from Mobay to Betheltown, Montego Bay to Savlamar in Westmoreland, and in St. James from Mobay to Johns Hall, and from Montego Bay to Wakefield in Trelawney. This is smarter transportation. This is truly advancing Jamaica. Previously, schools served by Montego Bay Metro included Cambridge High, Nakalva High, Anchovy High, Racines High. I'm proud to state that ahead of back to school, parents, students, and staff of Hopewell High, William Knibb High, and Irwin High schools will be able to commute safely and reliably using the Montego Bay Metro. As was shown earlier, we have expanded the CNG capacity thanks to the partnership of New Fortress Energy at this depot from 1 pump to 3 pumps. That's a 300% increase. So the buses will not be waiting idly to be refueled. That again is not a trickle. These buses run on natural gas. This was intentional, as the Prime Minister said earlier on the tour, to make sure we move away to a more environmentally friendly form of gas. And of course, less expensive, and getting away from diesel, which has been a perennial problem in terms of leakage. And you can just imagine what leakage I'm talking about. The figures presented to me, Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and my friends gathered here, it costs $60,000 to fill one diesel bus, compared to $20,000 to fill the same bus with CNG. So we save 40,000 Jamaican dollars per bus, per fill. Just imagine and multiply that by the fleet, and you will see where we are. So that is $4 million each time we fuel 100 buses, which we do every day. I wonder if you understand what I just said. I don't think, let me repeat it. We save $40,000 per CNG bus that we fill as against diesel every day. And we refuel 125 buses every day. So it's not $4 million. It's upward of $5 million Jamaican dollars per day for these buses. If you multiply that by 12, you realize, if you multiply by 365, because the buses run 7 days a week, that's too much for me to calculate. I need Nigel to help me with that. But just imagine what you can do with that savings to improve the efficiency of JUTC and help, because the money is coming from the consolidated fund. So how much more roads? How much more water supplies? How much more services can we improve for the Jamaican people? Prime Minister, again, I want to indicate very clearly that this has been a very holistic approach. This is not a scatter. Because when you deal with the Ministry of Finance and Minister Clark, you have to have things right and in place. So right now, Prime Minister, I had asked Jamaica for 6 months in December 2023, when people were waiting 2.5, 3 hours at the bus stops. And I said, please give me 6 months. And I stand here today as a member of the Andrew Holness administration to say, commitment made, commitment kept. We don't give the usual political empty promises. Prime Minister, I am going to ask my colleague, Minister of Finance, to just join me here for 2 minutes. While he's coming up, let me just say the misery routes. Spanish Town to Halfway Tree, Spanish Town to downtown, Greater Portmore to Halfway Tree to downtown, Price Right to downtown, Chancery Street to downtown, Spanish Town to Halfway Tree, Spanish Town to Crossroads, Border above Rocks to Temple Hall, downtown to Bull Bay, downtown to Airport, Port Royal, Harbour View to downtown, downtown to Garden Town. Look out starting tomorrow morning and message me if you don't see bus till bus tone you. And I have already mandated that make sure that the efficiency and the wait time is reduced on all routes, including the hill routes, where we had a few buses. That is the one up into Temple Hall and Garden Town and those areas. And I can say to you that 8 reconditioned hill route buses are being rolled out tomorrow morning as well, with 16 more to come by the end of the year. And I'm going to tell you why. No. Yeah. So I had a meeting with Minister Clark, and I want to make it clear that this was before the announcement yesterday. I don't want nobody to believe, say, I gang him yesterday to say this. This was something we had a meeting with my permanent secretary and the financial secretary. And I showed him where we were short in relation to making sure that we could complete this. This morning he whispered to me that I can go ahead. He has approved the funding for the 3-year service contract for these 100 buses. He has approved the refurbishing of 30 articulated buses that are parked all over the place. And when those 30 buses roll out, we clean up Halfway Tree, we clean up Portmore, we clean up Spanish Town. One bus go there and everybody gone, because we will have the new buses plus the reconditioned buses. As I said before, we refurbish 8 of the Golden Dragon Hill Route buses. He has approved the other 16, which will start immediately so that we can get them out for January morning. And last but not least, he has agreed for the second 100 buses, which he already committed in his budget speech, but with my urging, he has agreed for us to pay the deposit this side of the financial year so we can get the next 100 buses in the same time period, which is June to July of 2025, rather than the end of 25 to 26. The other 100 buses, he has already committed, so we will go through the procurement. And last but not least, he has approved for us to get 30 new premium coach charter buses for the charter services that so many churches and so many schools and so many organizations use from the JUTC for funerals and everything else. All I can say to you is that he's going to the IMF, and I told Anne-Marie last night that when I go to the IMF to visit him, I'm not going to the IMF, I'm going to my MF. Because I will need his guidance and his counsel, because it has been a pleasure to work with this man over the last few years. And there's no better endorsement, Prime Minister. I want you to listen to me. Of all of the regional leaders and prime ministers and everybody that have been praising Minister Clark, you only need to read the opposition statement yesterday saying that they are worried of what is going to happen now that Minister Clark is no longer there. And that in itself is the biggest endorsement. But let me just indicate to them, especially Mikey, since he's representing the leader of the opposition, that he's executing policies. The policies come from the cabinet of the country. So rest easy. He will be there to give us any advice that we need. But whoever is his successor is getting sound fiscal policies that will allow the country to continue on the trajectory that this gentleman has led through the Ministry of Finance. And no, I don't want the job. I want to stay right where I am. Leave me to deal with JPS. And in closing, I will just close by saying, listen, two things in relation to my portfolio responsibilities. There is no truth that oil has been found. And the United Oil and Gas, who has the license to explore, has issued a statement to say they have not even started drilling. So please, discontinue that. And secondly, and most importantly, I received a call this morning on the way here from the head of the OUR to say that a meeting was held yesterday evening as a result of a letter that I wrote putting the government's position, and I'm expecting a response to that letter today, and I can say confidently that I expect redress in relation to the latest billing cycle. I'll say no more until we get the letter and I share it with my Prime Minister. Help is on the way. God bless you.
JBN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.